What is up, guys? This is episode number 7 of Ride the Pine. Today we have a special guest, Brady Wraalstad. Lives in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. Former quarterback for Oconomowoc High School. You got anything to add to that?
Like Caden said, from Oconomowoc, played quarterback. Now I am transitioning into coaching for the high school and for the youth program. In terms of what I'm doing now with my life, I didn't go to college. I am currently an electrician in the Milwaukee area for a company called Total Mechanical. There's people ask why I didn't go to college. I didn't go because I got really set up with my school. They had a great program, so I was able to get set up through there. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've known Brady for quite a few years now, and he was already starting to brand himself in the trades before he left high school, correct?
That is correct. Halfway through high school, I actually got in a youth apprenticeship, which means I could work during school hours. So I was working for an electrical company that wired up houses. So that's what I was doing my senior year of high school.
Nice. Yeah, Brady, he is a football guru, and I mean that with all honesty. Not only did he play it, but he knows exactly what's going on in college and in the NFL. And yeah, we'll jump right into it, starting off with fantasy football. Something that both of us are passionate about. Both
Very
of us
much.
have done it in the past. We've been in the same leagues before,
Yep.
but we've also have done our own thing in separate leagues. Both very successful in it.
I would like to say that. Some years more than others, but you know what? I tell everyone I win every game. So
Yep, that's the way we like it on this show. So I'm going to start off with a question for you of who are your top sleepers for this upcoming NFL season?
all right, I'll give you a few. So my first one here is going to be Philip Lindsay. So he's a running back for Denver. Now, as of right now, they have Melvin Gordon, and it's been up in debate who's going to be the starter. But, I mean, you think of household names, people think of Melvin Gordon. At least in my case, I think of Melvin Gordon more than Philip Lindsay. So in this case, he's a sleeper for me just because you can never count on Melvin Gordon truly contributing. When he's playing, he's pretty good, and he can be a good split back and put him out in the slot. But, I mean, Philip Lindsay, that guy is when Gordon isn't going or is tired or is hurt. I mean, you can count on Lindsay pretty much. I'll give you one more, and then I hear what you have to say.
Yep.
Now, this is going to sound a bit like I'm a Patriot fan, right? And that's not because of how great they were. I've been a fan since I was born, or since I can remember. Tight end, look him up, Kyle Brady. He was a tight end, played at Penn State, played in Jacksonville, played for the Jets, and finished his career in New England. That's who I was named after, Kyle Brady, not Tom Brady. And so I've been a fan of the Patriots ever since I can remember. And so, growing up, it's been pretty easy for me, to be honest here. But now things are getting a little hairy, people think. But my sleeper is Jared Stidham. He's the quarterback as of right now. People thought they were going to draft one. They were going to sign one. But he's been the backup. He's been there 2 years. This will be his second year.
Yep.
And the way I'm going to give you a quick rundown of why I think this is such a good pick. Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches of all time, hands down.
Easily.
And I know there's been other people have more wins or more titles, but Bill Belichick is the greatest football-minded coach I've ever seen. He let Tom Brady walk, right? If they wanted to keep Tom, they would have done whatever it takes to keep him. If he was truly the greatest, like as AKA Michael Jordan, like he's just straight up the greatest of all time. Tom, I hate to be this way, as much as I've wanted to believe it, he's not the greatest of all time. Like he was the greatest because he's been through so much, but he's not the greatest in terms of his skill level. Like Aaron Rodgers is a more talented quarterback than Tom Brady. Tom just has some more knowledge and has been through more. But Bill Belichick did not let him walk knowing they're about to fail, right? If they wanted a quarterback, they would have went and got one. But they have Jared Stidham, and what they've done, they've drafted around him. They drafted 2 tight ends. I can't remember how many receivers, if any, they drafted, but they've set themselves up for success this year. And I've seen people think that the Bills are going to be better than them, and that's just not the case. Jared's going to have a good year. And I don't know if you've realized this, but Patriot football players are not a good team to draft from in terms of fantasy. No one has that standout year, except Gronk. But, other than that, they've never had the true standout. Tom never puts up extraordinary numbers. But, they're just a hard-nosed football team, and it's going to be, again, with Jared.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to be talking about Gronk a little bit later. But for sleepers, for myself, Brandon Cooks is one of my sleepers. He went to Houston. I'm a big believer in Deshaun Watson. I think he's a great quarterback, and I feel like he can deliver. And a huge target for him is going to be Brandon Cooks. If you looked in the past, Watson loves throwing to wide receivers that are quick, speedy, such as Will Fuller.
Yep.
But yeah, I feel like Brandon Cooks is going to be outstanding in fantasy football, especially if you play in a PPR league. Mm-hmm. He's going to catch a lot of balls. But besides that, I really feel you're going to think this is crazy. Odell Beckham Jr., he had such a bad year last year. So a lot of people are putting him off, but I feel like he's going to come back with revengeance almost. And he's going to have a breakout year again, showing forms of himself from the past. Now moving into our next topic, we're going to be talking about Gronk. How good do you think Gronk is going to be? And since you were a Patriots fan all your life and growing up watching him make spectacular catches and, doing his old-fashioned Gronk spike, how do you feel about him being a Tampa Bay Buccaneer?
We'll get a couple different levels of this. First, Gronk, if you've seen any picture of him, what he looks like, he is not the same as he was before.
I researched a little bit ago, and he has lost almost 35 to 40 pounds.
Yeah, so, he is not the same as he was before. But the thing that I think I liked with Gronk, and sometimes you realize it's just the way he is, he's so competitive. So he's lost that poundage, so he may not have the greatest physical advantage, but I tell you what, if he's in the right mindset, he won't be able to be stopped, even with those 30 to 40 pounds lost. But this is what I think in terms of the whole Gronk situation. You look at the Tampa, what Bruce Arians has done, they're not a huge tight end-oriented offense. That's just not the way Bruce is. Last year, O.J. Howard, everyone thought he was going to be so great, and it was really a letdown year, whether that was O.J.'s fault, whether that was Jameis's fault, which it could have been Winston's fault there. But, who knows where that is. But what I see out of him is they brought Gronk in, so unless they plan on keeping Gronk and O.J. Howard, which they could, the Patriots have done that in the past, keeping two very talented tight ends, but all the other talent and players they have no space from in terms of cap, I don't think. Mm-hmm. So I think a likely option is they get rid of O.J. Howard and, bring some other talent in or bring some draft picks in. But, if they do keep them both, that's going to have to change their system. And with them bringing Tom Brady in and bringing Gronk in, this is Bruce Arians selling out at this point. If you see a lot of their teams, the Packers drafting Drew Lock, Jordan Love. They drafted him. That's not a play for right now. Tampa's playing for right now. They bring in all the big numbers. So I think Bruce Arians, he's a fairly smart coach. He's going to do what it takes to win with Gronk. So I could definitely see a huge shift in the offense this year. This could be another sleeper pick for you guys, Gronk. Whether or not people believe in him, if they change the offense around him, Tom has confidence in him. And with two tight ends like Gronk and OJ, they're going to have to change. Otherwise, it's a wasted space. So,
yeah, for sure. We've seen in the past, especially in fantasy football, the teams that are stacked as of skill position players, they might be a great team, but they don't always provide in the fantasy football leagues. With, Chris Godwin, who's the second wide receiver for them? I'm trying to think of his name. He had a breakout year last year. Totally blanking on his name, but now you got Gronk.
Yeah.
And you have Mike Evans.
Yep.
And just all those additions, it's going to be hard for Brady to throw the ball to everybody every game. Yeah, one person's going to have a breakout game per game, most likely, but, not everyone's going to be able to get their own every game.
Oh, for sure. That's how it's going to be. And I think that's what Bruce is, banking on. Tom's never been the guy that with only one player he's going to get far. He had Randy Moss that year, but he had Wes Welker around him. He had some other talent around him. So Randy Moss that year did get a lot of the targets, but Tom's always been surrounded by great talent. So this is just another one of those things. Whether or not I would take a Tampa Bay player this year in the draft, I don't know if I would. Yeah. Because there's so much talent on that roster that, it's going to get spread around, and Tom's that kind of guy. He's going to spread the ball around and find whoever's open. So actually, this may be a great year to take one of the Tampa Bay running backs.
Yeah, really.
Because Tom loves his running backs, so this could be a big year in terms of running backs.
Yeah, especially if they have a back that you can see can catch out of the backfield, as we saw with James White in New England. He made a living catching the ball out of the backfield. Now moving into one of our last subjects is wide receivers. Who do you think is going to be the top 5 dogs this season?
Top 5, that's a tough one. There's a lot of great receivers out there, and the problem that we're having now, especially, we've grown up with all the big names, OBJ, that's a big name you think of, but honestly, to me, he's not a standout player. He's not going to be this year. You said he's going to be good this year. I don't see it out of him. They have, as much as I love Baker, and Baker's an absolute animal of a competitor, but I just don't see it quite yet, and I don't know if OBJ has gotten too far ahead of himself in that regard, but no, I just don't see OBJ as a top 5 as much as you would think of. That's the thing is we start getting all these new names. And there's a lot of names out there of top 5 guys that you just haven't heard of. But in terms of top 5, I couldn't put a number on them. I think Amari Cooper will be good this year.
Okay.
Devontae Adams, I hope will have another good year. Last year was up and down a little bit.
Well, he did have an injury. Turf toe.
Yep, that happened, but. Hopefully he can have a fairly decent year again. I'm thinking, as much as I said don't draft a Tampa player, Chris Godwin, if he can be, because Mike Evans is their deep threat.
Yeah.
But Tom doesn't like the deep stuff as much. He
likes the route runners, ones that can really get out of their stride and beat the DBs.
Yeah. So I mean, Chris Godwin could be a good pickup in that regard, but. I mean, I don't know for fantasy. If we're talking top 5 receivers, that may not be the greatest fantasy producers. So if we're talking top 5 just in general, I think Chris Godwin is up there, but I don't see him producing as a fantasy player as much.
Yeah. For myself, if I were to go top 5, fantasy-wise, Michael Thomas is for sure in there.
For sure.
He's in there. Julio, just for the simple fact that I feel that he's such a deep threat and he's produced over the years. Nothing's changing with them. They did lose their best running back that they've had in a while in Freeman.
Yep.
But he's going to get a ton of balls thrown to him regardless.
I was thinking that they're losing him, but that's just going to mean it's forcing Matt Ryan to go somewhere else with the ball now. So, like you said, Julio is a great deep ball guy in that regard.
Yeah. I think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be a year older. He is still very young. He's still learning, but he's going to have a great year. Big Ben is back, hopefully. Healthy or not, nobody knows.
No.
And then, lastly, just trying to think off the top of my head, probably, I don't know about this, but wide receiver that got traded to Arizona.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep, he's a stud.
Yep.
And I think Kyler Murray, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but Kyler Murray's my number 1 for MVP running.
All right, that's bold right there. That's bold. I would agree with you. Kyler Murray should have a breakout year this year, but I do agree that DeAndre Hopkins will be a threat down there.
Kyler Murray doesn't get the MVP or have a breakout season if Hopkins isn't there.
Right.
So,
and I mean Hopkins will have to deal with having Christian Kirk down there. Is that the other receiver, or is that?
Yep.
Christian Kirk, and he was fairly good last year. He was a top 10, I'd say, in terms of producers. But I think DeAndre's going to come down there and he's going to steal the show. And if Kyler's smart, he's going to take advantage of that. And I mean, I think of Deshaun Watson just the same as Kyler Murray. They're both mobile. They both got a decent arm, so I could see Kyler targeting him the same way Deshaun did.
Yeah, for sure. And Kyler Murray, if you really watch NFL, and I know you do and I do, but when Watson would roll out of the pocket, that's when Hopkins made his money.
Oh, yeah.
Kyler Murray's fantastic at that.
Yeah.
We saw him last year just perform outstandingly in that regard.
Oh, yeah.
Getting outside the pocket.
Yeah, Kyler reminds me of, I know we'll get to this in a different day or whenever we do this, but he reminds me of a Lamar Jackson and a Deshaun Watson. He's a mobile guy just like Lamar, and he can make plays with his feet, but I mean, once he's outside the pocket, it's almost like a Russell Wilson, to be honest.
Yeah, really.
When he's out of the pocket, that's when things can be big for him, because especially these young guys that have legs, they're not always comfortable in the pocket, like a Big Ben or a Tom Brady. So once they get out of the pocket, that's where they make their money. So
now moving into our last subject, and Brady doesn't know this question, but who is your, if you had to put one player that you're drafting, you have the number 1 pick, who are you drafting?
That's a good question. It's tied between Ezekiel Elliott and Michael Thomas.
Wow.
Now, I think of Michael Thomas as the only thing that's going to stop Michael Thomas is Michael Thomas.
Yep.
If he's hurt, that's the only way he's done. Like it's a system in New Orleans, and we've realized that Teddy Bridgewater succeeded greatly in the New Orleans system. So, I mean, as much as we'd like to say Drew Brees is real good, he's talented and all, but it's a system down there, and Michael Thomas has found his niche in that system. So,
yeah, Sean Payton's an outstanding coach. He makes sure that all of his players are playing at their peak, and that's important.
Now, Ezekiel Elliott, I say that because he is behind one of the best offensive lines in the league right now. And with the thing with Dak Prescott, who knows where that can land. So, I mean, this is a May prediction, but if Dak signs, it's still... The way I see it is they decided to pay Ezekiel Elliott before Dak Prescott. I mean, that should tell you where their confidence level is.
For sure. And I talked about this in one of my former podcasts about the reason why they got Andy Dalton. It was an insurance policy. If he were to hold out, they care, but they don't. You know, I feel Dak is good, but how good is Dak? And we'll be talking about that in upcoming days. But it was definitely an insurance policy getting Dalton.
Yeah, and you can say they've drafted other receivers in the first round. You know, I don't see that being a factor. You have Ezekiel Elliott; they're going to keep feeding him the ball. And again, this is a topic we get into later. But is it worth paying running backs big money? I say no. But when you have Ezekiel Elliott, and if Dak holds out. I mean, as good as Andy Dalton is, I feel way confident handing the ball to Ezekiel, letting him get the run game going rather than trying to air it out and hoping and praying. So
yeah, if I had the number 1 pick, I'm taking McCaffrey.
Right.
Last year he was outstanding. I don't see him losing a step at all. The team really hasn't changed that much.
Not really. I will agree with you here. Christian McCaffrey, now that Cam Newton is gone, and Teddy Bridgewater, and Teddy's a good quarterback and all, but it's going to be all Christian McCaffrey this year. It has to be. Yeah,
you would definitely think that way. And Teddy Bridgewater, you know, back when he was playing in Minnesota, he loved dumping the ball down to, you know, his running backs. I don't know if you guys know this, but Jared McKinnon one season had more catches than any other player in the NFL at that time.
Yeah.
And he was a running back for Minnesota when Bridgewater was there.
Yeah.
He really made a huge boom in the fantasy world.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's Teddy Bridgewater, just like any other young quarterback or a quarterback that may not always have the best targets around him. You know, I can't name a Carolina wide receiver off the top of my head right now. I'm sure they got some big name guy.
Their biggest one is DJ Moore.
DJ Moore, okay. But still, when I think of the Panthers, you think of Christian McCaffrey. And the fact that he can play in the slot, too, and he can play as, you know, get those touches out as a receiver, as a running back, that's only going to set Teddy up for better success. So I see a big year for Christian McCaffrey this year.
For sure. That is all we have for you guys today. Make sure you guys subscribe and like down below. Sure. Brady is part of this family of Ride the Pine. He helps me with all these videos, as I have said in the past. But he is definitely part of the family, and show him some love. We should be back with another video tomorrow. And have a great day, guys.
See you next time.